Good afternoon, readers. I'm so glad to have you back. um, I just wanted to say hello, and as you can see, Jane Eyre is with us. She's laying down here, keeping an eye on everything. Today, we're going to talk about the my book, if I can find it. Hang on. Murder Over Medium. And we're going to continue the series of where we chat about different research topics that I had to cover for that book. They've been a big hit with Facebookers, with you guys, with TN sympathyers. So I decided, hey, why not go ahead and talk about the third published book and tell you a little bit about the research that I did for that. So, welcome to Tea and Sympathy Tuesday with Gillian-Baker and Jane Eyre. Today I'm drinking decaf chai. It smells really yummy. I needed a pick-me-up, but I want to be able to sleep tonight. So, yeah, I'm at that age where if I drink caffeine too late, I can't always fall asleep. Jane. I've had so many of you send me emails about how much you enjoy seeing Jane Eyre that I stopped worrying about whether she was in the pictures or not, whether she was in the video. I just kind of let her do what she wants to do. So anyway, when you hop on over here, make sure you type something in the text to let me know that you're here. Let me know what you're drinking, and we'll get started. So, Murder Over Medium, and the biggest research that I had to do for this book was on seances and spiritualism, tarot readings, and other kinds of divination. So there are things outside of the mystic realm that I had to do some research on, but I thought I would focus on these because they're the most important throughout the story. So although I do rely a lot on my oracle cards here, this is my favorite deck. I use those pretty much daily to guide me into what I should be working on and the energy that I should be working on it from. And although I feel really confident in my readings with that, I don't know as much about the tarot, and there are differences. So I talked to some people in some groups that I'm in and got a recommendation for someone who could help me with the final scene. And Jade finally allows Gwendolyn, if you haven't read the book, she allows Gwendolyn to finally read her tarot. And all through the book, Gwendolyn has been saying, I have a message for you. I have some important information that I need to tell you. I could really give you a lot of help if you would let me. And so finally she lets her do that in the very last scene. But I didn't know how to set up the cards so that it was real. You know, I could have just made something up. But as I've been saying all along, it's so important for writers to do their due diligence and to research the topics so that their readers can trust what they say. And also, I don't want to get a bunch of emails from people who read the tarot saying, this is totally wrong, and then they never want to read my stuff again. So I don't want to do that either. So anyway, I connected with Sue, who was recommended to me, and she was awesome. She gave me all this detail, this 12 card spread that I did, and it was just perfect. So I was really grateful to her that I didn't have to learn all of that because it would have taken me forever to figure out how to do that. I already knew a little bit about spiritualism. If you don't know what I mean by that, there was a time period, uh, I'm probably going to mess this up, the late 1800s. Um, I think that's right. I should have looked that up before I came on live. Um, when people were really drawn into what they called spiritualism, where they held seances a lot. And there are several people who have been in the White House whose wife, specifically whose wives, have had seances in the White House, and starting way back. And you can read more about that. I posted to a link on my blog and to the blog where I publish, the publishing house that I belong to. Pub, bleh. I put a link on to their website also, and I have a couple of different posts on different topics dealing with spiritualism and tarot cards and that sort of thing. For the spiritualism, like Conan Doyle was who wrote the Sherlock Holmes books. He was a really big part of that movement, and there are some other people who are very famous who seriously believed in spiritualism, and it rose up as kind of like a religion where people could go and find answers to the meaning of life, kind of things that they weren't getting from the organized religions that existed. So that rose up during that time period. So I already knew a little bit about that. So from there, I went specifically to seances because I didn't want to come across like this cheesy movie if that's not really how seances worked. The only seance I've ever been to was when I was probably in, I don't know, maybe middle school. It was probably late elementary school when we did a sleepover and they brought out a Ouija board, as a bunch of little girls screaming and, making stuff up. And that's my only experience with the seance. So I didn't have anything to work with. But really, a lot of what you do see in the movies, it sounds like, is how a seance is done. Everybody holds hands. It's important that you close the circle correctly so that spirits of our dearly departed aren't allowed to, stay around, but they're allowed back into their realm and all those kinds of things. And there's often candles and music. And in my book, Gwendolyn actually has the experience where someone speaks through her. Her voice is different. Her mannerisms change. And that can happen as well at a seance where either he or she can just tell the people who are there what the spirit is saying, or sometimes the spirit will actually speak through them. So that's what happens. It wears her out, kind of freaks everybody out because they're not even sure what to expect anyway. They're from this dinky little town, Aspen Falls, and they've never been to a seance. And so they're like, ooh, this is kind of crazy here. And of course, Jade can't believe what's going on because she didn't even know that her friend who was coming, had changed her career and was now a psychic medium. So she had a really big surprise to that too. I also had to look into other divination tools because I wanted to see if tarot was the best way to go. And there's been a resurgence in interest in the spiritual realm over the last few years. And so I felt like this was a really good time to write this book. And this has been the easiest book that I've written so far. And it was just a lot of fun to write. I really enjoyed it. And, the other divination tools I didn't like quite as much, even though I've used a few of them. Crystal ball just seemed a little too hokey, and I wasn't sure that people would even know that people really do use that and stare into it to get answers. It's like a way of clearing their mind. and they're also, you can do dowsing, you can use a pendulum, um, all those kinds of things. But the tarot just worked the best. So I just stuck with that. And it looks really great on the cover, I think, too. Even though there's a lot of misconception about the death card, let's see, which you can see right here. It doesn't always mean a physical death, but I played that up anyway. Even though that's not really, what it's all about, physical death. And you'll see up here, my cover designer, my awesome cover designer, Elliot, put a crystal ball kind of in the background behind there. And everything's backwards, so you can see it right here. I loved that little addition. I can't wait to show you guys the new cover for the next book, Liable to Kill. It's awesome. It's a little edgier, and it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to share it with you. I love how it turned out. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you today about. And I'd love to know, if you read the tarot, if you have a favorite oracle card deck, what kind of tea you're drinking while you watch, anything you want to tell me, or questions you have about topics that are covered in the book. And there's also a labyrinth that they walk that is going to be showing up again in the 4th book. So leave any questions that you have in the comments. If you haven't read the book yet, please do. I put the link up in the comments also, and a couple of other ones if you want to know more about the research aspect, specific things that I learned while I was doing the research. Okay, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.